Hi, I'm Francine Shacter. I was born in 1928 to parents who emigrated to the United States from Eastern Europe. My mother's family settled in New York City. My father went to stay with an uncle in Cleveland. My parents met and married in Los Angeles, having met through a cousin of my mother who lived in Cleveland. My father was a perpetual optimist. My mother was certain disaster was coming over every horizon. My father believed the good living of the Roaring '20s would last forever. My mother knew for sure disaster was just around each corner. My memories include such things as the Depression in Los Angeles, the touring cars that came in from Oklahoma, carrying whole families fleeing the Dust Bowl, hoping to find a better life in California, the land of milk and honey. Oranges were a penny a dozen, and yet many people didn't have a penny to buy a dozen. I remember my parents sitting around the little radio to hear the fireside chats of Franklin Roosevelt and his reassuring message that we had nothing to fear but fear itself. Although I lived through these times, it was in school where I learned about the Great Depression, about the evils of fascism, and the great wonder of living in a democracy where everyone had a free and mandatory public education and was able to go on and realize their dreams and aspirations. The course of human events is like a swinging pendulum. In 1932, after a financial catastrophe that shook our nation, President Franklin Roosevelt told Americans, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." Today, we have a president who reminds us constantly that we must be afraid. The programs of the New Deal were designed to lift up people who needed a hand up and often a hand out. The welfare of the people was paramount. Today, we have a government that has lost the understanding that our government is of the people, by the people, and most important of all, for the people. Harry Hopkins, a trusted special assistant to President Roosevelt, dispensed millions of dollars for programs to relieve the misery of citizens hard hit by depression, and there was never so much as a hint of scandal. What a tragic contrast with the present administration, which is riddled with scandal. So, what next? Well, it's time for the pendulum to swing back, for the interests and needs of working people to take precedence over the interests of a wealthy few. As a lifelong political activist, I believe that we must protect the political process. We must protect freedom of speech. We must protect the rights of the individual. We must ensure that the Constitution is not abridged, and we must aggressively maintain the rule of law that has made America great. I believe this is the challenge of our time. Democracy succeeds not because there is a policeman on every corner, but because the 300 million people who live in our America consent to be governed. We must, with all our might, protect this contract between the people and the government of our America. I am Francine Shacter, and this is my commentary.